This is, and always will be, the greatest spectacle in racing. This is the Indianapolis 500.
So you want to get into IndyCar?
Is Zanardi going to go for it
That's
down
the
the
video for
inside?
you.
He's having a good old go. Vassar comes in wide, and Zanardi goes through.
Pagano's making a move on the outside. They touch.
Pagano, power, contact, and Charlie Kimball off at turn 4. Will Power and Simon Patton.
IndyCar has a long history intertwined with the one of Formula 1. Originally, the Indy 500 was a race on the Formula 1 calendar. Over time, the drivers in IndyCar started to part ways with the drivers from Formula 1. This saw the creation of the United States Auto Club in 1955 to oversee and sanction the Indianapolis 500. However, in 1977, the teams participating in IndyCar saw the need for more control and more say in the championship. Thus, CART, or the Championship Auto Racing Teams, was born. And in 1966, IndyCar saw another split, with the Indy Racing League being created, being a direct competitor to the CART Championship. Personally, the history of IndyCar is very complicated and has a lot of splits directed by both the teams and the drivers. A lot of this causes confusion about the history of IndyCar and how it actually came to be. So now let's get into what is IndyCar right now. To first understand IndyCar, you have to understand that there's a lot of tracks. There are ovals, street circuits, regular circuits, and super speedways. To give a brief summary of these, ovals and super speedways are both very fast in nature and have little to no braking zones. These include the Indianapolis 500 itself and the Daytona Super Speedway, while street circuits and regular circuits are much like the circuits found in other places in the world, such as Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen, and street circuits such as the Detroit Grand Prix. For IndyCar, there are also 3 sessions just like Formula 1 or any other racing series. You have 1, the practices, 2, qualifying, and 3, the race itself. Qualifying depends on if you're on a road circuit or you're on an oval or a super speedway. On super speedways, the qualifying is based off the average speed of your lap.
First qualifying effort in an IndyCar, and it's
So things like the time of your lap doesn't count towards your qualifying. And whoever gets the fastest average speed is the one who starts the first on the grid, and that's how it's put on the board. For road circuits, on the other hand, they have groups of 12 and 6. So if you get into the fastest 12 initially, you're allowed to get into the group of the fastest 6. And those group of the fastest 6 are allowed to qualify and fight for positions. So things like the time of your lap doesn't count towards your qualifying. And whoever gets the fastest average speed is the one who starts the first on the grid, and that's how it's put on the board. For road circuits, they have groups of 12 and 6.
can he get it done? His teammate Palou is in the danger area, and Dixon will knock out Palou for the moment.
So if you get into the fastest 12 initially, you're allowed to get into the group of the fastest 6. And those group of the fastest 6 are allowed to qualify and fight for positions. Unlike other forms of racing, in IndyCar, a certain driver doesn't need to race every single race in the season. You can have certain drivers booked for a certain race. This is most commonly seen in the Indy 500, where a lot of drivers only choose to race in the Indy 500. This also extends to the amount of drivers a certain team has. Some teams can have 4 up to even 5 drivers, while some only have 1. Some of the main teams are Chip Ganassi, Penske, and Andretti Autosport are mainstays in IndyCar and are actually trying to bid for some spots in Formula 1, whilst the up-and-coming teams such as McLaren are new entrants into IndyCar and are looking to make a name for themselves. Some of the notable names in IndyCar currently are people like Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Colton Herta, and people with amazing names such as Stingray Robb, who genuinely has the best name in all of motorsport. With this, IndyCar kind of has the reputation of being a washed series, basically meaning that whenever an F1 driver ends their career or gets an injury, they move to IndyCar. People like Nigel Mansell, Callum Ilott, Roman Grosjean, have all made careers in IndyCar after a career in F1. But over time, this is hopefully changing. Seeing that people like Colton Herta are planning on making a push into Formula 1, I hope that these bids can be able to push IndyCar for more audiences.